Hello folks, how's it going? I'm Mike from Dysart, and as I've said before, I bloody love comic books. They are a big part of my life, and they have been for a very long time. Since about 2008 was when I really started getting into it. However, it's not an easy thing. If you walk into a comic book shop nowadays, you'll actually probably find it quite intimidating if you didn't know where to look. Luckily, with the huge saturation of superhero movies from Marvel and DC, as well as other ones such as, I believe, Valiant's Bloodshot was a movie not long ago. Was Valiant Bloodshot? I'll have to check that one out, I might be wrong. However, where the hell do you start? With such a grand, deep history, there is not always an easy jump off point. Some of the books I'm going to talk about today though are some books that'll help you get into comic books, not just into stories and characters, but into the feel and the foundations of what it's like to actually read a comic book. So here's some really great books that I think will help you get started on your comic book adventure. Just before we get started, folks, I may have overscripted this one just a little bit, so this is now going to be a two-parter. It'll also give you some time to read some of the books that are spoken about in this one, and maybe we can discuss them later down the line. Anyway, here we go. So the first book that I want to talk about is Saga. Now, from the day that main Dysart daddy Chris decided that he wanted comic books in Dysart, I knew for a fact that I would be talking about Saga. Today I'm not going to go into too much detail because this book truly deserves a real deep dive, and I cannot wait to do that. However, for now, let me just tell you that this is an epic space opera that follows star-crossed lovers Alana and Marco as they travel across the universe with their very adorable daughter Hazel, that for some reason the two opposing sides of this intergalactic war that's been raging on for so many years, and it's one of those that's just kind of been going forever. They want Hazel dead, and they want the star-crossed lovers dead. Brian K. Vaughan has written this book in a way that makes you feel what happens to this family. What happens to them happens to you, and God, it's like a punch in the chest. Some of the beats that they hit, you just want to scream out, why would you write this? Why would you do this to me? But at the same time, you can't help but love him for it, because it's just so easy to connect to and so wonderfully written, and the artwork is just insane. It's a lot of fun, not to mention all the crazy characters that you get to meet, from manhunters to robot people, literally robot people, assassins, women who look like this. It is just such a fun book that you have to read. It's got a bit of everything. The only way to describe it would be as an epic, because it genuinely has everything in there. I really want to go way deeper into it right now, like I say, but I could do that for hours. So I'm going to move swiftly on. However, Saga is an amazing book that will not only get you into comic books, it's a very easy book to read. And from there you can move on to books like Paper Girls and Why the Last Man, other Brian K. Vaughan publications. One of the things that Saga introduced me to was Image Comics. Even though I've been reading comics for a long time, I hadn't realised how important and how cool and how much of a renegade that this publication is. So Saga, 100%, one for the bookshelf. Looking on the theme of entertainment and kind of those fun, adventurous books, Rick and Morty. That's right, the incomparable Rick and Morty. The Netflix series, the Channel 4, the Adult Swim, wherever you get your Rick and Morty from. We all know who these characters are at their core, and the comic books do not miss a beat. One of the reasons why I wanted to put this one on the list is because of that. It's something easy and something familiar to welcome yourself into. You don't have to create the characters' voices or personalities in your head. You already know, it's been given to you. And Rick and Morty, at its core, let's be honest, is a comic book. If you do not know where to start, this is fantastic. Like I say, it's something familiar, something to welcome you in. You can hear their little quirks as you're reading the books. In between the panels, you're hitting every single burp, every single, ooh, I don't know, Rick. I'm got very good at impressions, but goddamn, do I really love these books. Not to mention that this isn't just a cop-out here. These are funny books. These are laugh out loud, pissing yourself funny books. So I can't recommend it enough. Now, if you're looking for a comedy feel like with Rick and Morty, but you fancy a little bit of a twist, maybe some superhero action in there, well, Quantum and Woody, Valiant's Quantum and Woody, is one of the greatest books I can think of for you, especially the 2017 reboot that they kind of brought back Quantum and Woody back into the fray. I think it was about a 7-year hiatus or something like that. But when they've come back, they have come back so strong. The story follows Woody and Eric, two adopted brothers. After a science experiment, they are imbued with superpowers. And the only downside is they've got to clank these two bracelets that they own together, otherwise they will just dissipate into nothingness. Makes it kind of difficult when you've got a very, very odd couple style book. You've got Woody, the brash, I'm a fucking superhero, mom, I can do whatever I want kind of kiddo. And then on the flip side, you've got Eric, his brother, the very military, very confident and very like straight-laced character who takes on the titular character of Quantum. It's both charming and in your face at the same time. It's full of brotherly love and also brotherly hate, as they often get into fisticuffs, but somehow manage to still, you know, form back together and take on the bad guys. Quantum and Woody also has one of my favourite characters in all of comic books. If you can't handle a buddy superhero comic book and the main character's companion is a goat called Vincent Van Goat, I don't think we can be friends. We can still be friends, don't worry. But seriously, Quantum and Woody is a great one, in the same vein as Rick and Morty for ridiculousness, but throwing in that little extra bit of helping of superheroes that people love. That being said, there's a lot of really cool, more serious books that you need to consider. Some folk aren't looking for that fun time adventure. Some people aren't looking for the quirky characters or really vibrant, pretty, strong, bold colours. They're looking for a darker, grittier experience. And you know what? To that I say, hell yeah! I love a darker book. A mystery, a murder, a horror. I'm totally down for it. And one of these books that I would consider is a must-have for your collection is V for Vendetta. Now, like many, when it comes to V for Vendetta, I saw the movie first. And I love it. I think it's a fantastic flick. It's so much fun. And like anybody else who saw the movie first and then read the comic, I'd imagine would just be just as dumbfounded as I was. I was blown away by how different this book was, because I had a predetermined idea of what was going on, and much like Rick and Morty, that's a great thing to have when you're going into a comic book. However, when you realise that the entire situation has been flipped, or there's been a totally new character involved, or a new story, or it's been written completely different, it will throw you for a loop. V for Vendetta does just this. The story still follows Masked V, the madcap activist or terrorist, depending on kind of which side of the fence you're sitting on, as he tries to free England from the totalitarian rule that they have been placed under. Probably the biggest difference is got to be Evie. Now, Evie in the film, like I said, is played by Natalie Portman, who plays a kind of meek journalist who works for the news, and I don't know, she's got more of an assistant than anything like that. However, in this book, Evie isn't a journalist. Evie's not even over the age of 20. In fact, she's a 16-year-old prostitute, and things are not great for her. She gets embroiled into this conspiracy to blow up Parliament with V, and she soon finds herself as a person. It is a fantastic book. It's also a really great in for other darker, more serious books, much like The Watchmen. Now, The Watchmen is a book that I didn't actually want to put into this video. I don't recommend it for first-time readers at all. The reason for this is because, despite the fact that it is absolutely incredible, it was the first book that I read. And for a first-timer, The Watchmen is a slog. If you don't understand how comic books are formed and written, and all the work you have to do in your head to fill the blanks between the panels, and the time jumps, and the weird extra content in between issues within the book, oh my goodness, there's just so much that goes into The Watchmen. I love that. Again, it's one of my favourite books in the world. I really enjoyed the movie as well. However, for first timers, like I say, it's a real slog. It took me a long time to read this book, and when I finished it, I wasn't massively excited to read another comic book, because I thought, oh, if this is what it's like, it's going to take me months to read this bloody book. No, it doesn't. It's just that is a particularly heavy one to start with, and while I 100% recommend it, I suggest reading a few other books first, which is why I feel like V for Vendetta would be a perfect one to help start your collection, and Watchmen would be an amazing one to move on to. It's definitely something to look forward to later down the line. So there we have it, folks. That's the first part of my video about some great books to help you start your adventures in comics. I really do hope you've enjoyed this, and do tune in for the next one. Check out some of the books I've spoken about in the meantime. Can't wait to discuss them with you. Until next time, stay cool, stay safe, and happy reading.